Hi, this is Ed Amoroso. I want to welcome you to Tag Talk. And today I want to cover a topic that comes up so frequently in our interaction with enterprise teams, with government, and with vendors. And it's around automating the SOC automation, bringing AI-based tools and other types of automation, intelligent automation, to your security operations center. Seems like kind of a nerd topic, but wow, is it controversial? And I'll sort of share with you why. We'll get to that later in the discussion. But first, what I want to do is give you insight into what we think vendors, commercial vendors, are doing now to bring SOC automation to their enterprise customers and service providers and MSPs, also obviously interested in these tools. I think there's 5 categories. I'll take you through them. We'll look at those categories, and then we'll look at the implication of this and maybe hit some bigger picture items. And I'm going to really look forward to hearing your interaction with me in the comments here. I hope you guys are not shy. Tell me what you think. But let me go through the 5 categories first of what we see. The first category of SOC automation vendor involves using AI to manage alerts. Comes up all the time. And all these alert volume. Oh my gosh, we're going to be drowning in alerts. What do we do? How do we do it? And if you're my age, you remember I Love Lucy when it was that the moving platform with all the candy and they're trying to keep up and it goes faster and faster, assembly line. It's sort of like that. There's so many alerts you can't keep up as a human. So you introduce some sort of automation. That's category 1. Second is managing workflow. So workflow means the structured setup of tasks that a level 1, level 2, level 3 SOC analyst would do. The organization of that work and the workflow and making sure things are moving and being streamlined between both manual and automated tasks is something that we see a lot of SOC automation tools doing today. So that's a second category. Third category is actually running a playbook, which means sort of like those early SOAR tools that we saw a couple generations ago from some companies like Swimlane and others. They were amongst the best doing this, where you're actually automating. You lay out the workflow and then the tool automates the tasks. And we've heard a number of times that in some sense takes manual tier 1 work to something that's now done by computing. And you have your opinion or non-opinion about that. The fourth category would be tools that are actually doing the threat hunting. They're sifting through, they understand what they're looking for, and they provide indicators to you, indicators of compromise, evidence of an issue, evidence of compromise or breach. Very useful. And we all grew up, or at least I grew up, doing that manually, sifting through things and maybe trying to find a needle in the haystack. Not an easy thing for humans, so that's definitely something that a SOC automation tool can do a nice job of. And then the fifth and final category here is we call measuring results. And that's keeping track of productivity, performance, output, and having the AI tool almost be sort of like the supervisor, keeping track of what's going on and providing some insight for the CISO and others. So those are the 5 that we see. Look, if I do another version of this video in a year, there might be 6 others, who knows? But that's what we see. And by the way, if you're a Tag Research as a Service customer, you can go into our portal and you can get a feel for the companies, the actual vendors that we're mapping into these categories. But let me say that all of this stuff kind of skirts the real question. Now, let's get real here. I think there's 2 categories of people working in and around security operations center. The first category would be people who believe that there will always be a human element in the security operations center. It'll be managers, analysts, they'll always have to be there, if not to curate, then to also pick up where the automation simply can't. There's a group of people, many of you watching me now, who believe that to your core. But there's a second category, and frankly, I belong to this second category that believes pretty soon we're going to see lights out automation, meaning fully top to bottom, end to end automation. The reason I believe that is because the offense is moving in that direction. If the offense is automated and relentless and continuing and adjusting and learning and never stopping, how do you go up against that with human beings? You can't. You have to have equal relentless, automated, continuous, always on defense. You can only stop automation with automation. That's been my experience. Now, again, I said there's two camps. Some of you might disagree. Again, that's why we have comments here on YouTube. Tell me what you think. I mean, it's a big question. Look, by way of analogy, I remember a time when the suggestion that getting rid of Exchange servers, Microsoft Exchange servers, in favor of like using cloud email was like heresy. How can you do that? You'll have the terrible service and so on. I don't think that's the way it happened, right? I mean, when was the last time any of you listening to me, unless you work at Microsoft or Google, actually worried about patching an email server? You don't. All of that's automated. You turn on M365 or some of these nice, really nice Google productivity tools. It's almost like you're turning on the air and you use it and you don't administer it. It's automated. And that's admittedly different than SOC automation. I get that. But the analogy I think could be helpful. This idea that eventually your SOC just might be this big hunk of computing that's dealing with defense. Now, one good thing is that if we do have that, it might be the end of security as we know it. I mean, just we'll have different types of fraud and crime that we have to worry about. You know, robots going crazy, who knows? But this idea of a SOC that collects data and is up against an automated offense, if that happens, then small, medium, and large businesses, governments will all have access to the same technology. And you might have some weird sort of détente or like some kind of a balance between offense and defense that would be kind of nice. So think about that. It's not all bad. If we went to lights out, maybe there's some good reason to hope for that. Now, look, if you're working a SOC, you probably don't like what I'm saying. If you're a CISO or a finance manager, you might love what I'm saying. Either way, we must debate this. So look, comments, send them in. I want to hear what you think. I want to know that you're out there. So in the meantime, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll look forward to talking to you on the next one.